back, sinners, to another Saturday Night Cinema. And if you don't know by now, then I don't know where you've been, but I'm your host, Sawyer St. Sin. And tonight, we're going to be talking about a great movie. We last week, if you were here, we drew a name out of a hat, so you kind of already know what it is. But buy a bag of it and go home in a body bag. It's kind of, oh no, sorry, go home in a box. We're starting off on a great foot. So we're talking about popcorn, which this one is delicious. Isn't it cute? I love it. Hold on. Refreshing. I mean, it's just water. I ran out of fun soda, so I mean, yeah. Hey, can't always be winners, can we? So I'm just gonna go sit that down there. I'm just gonna keep eating on this because it's delicious. So I hope it doesn't bother you very much. Okay, so let's get on with it. Popcorn. Do you have popcorn? Do you need to pause it and go get some? Because, I'll wait. Okay, you should have enough time. Anyways, so this was released February 1st, 1991. Pretty fun times, I was just a wee little girl. Probably wasn't watching horror movies at that point. I don't think I watched a horror movie until I was like 5. So, probably pretty close, but definitely not this one. Definitely not this one. By the way, if you are wondering where you can find popcorn to watch it, you can find popcorn on YouTube for free. Some pesky ads pop up, but that's not bad. It gives you time to go pee, grab some more popcorn, grab a drink, whatever you need to do. So our director is Mark Hernery. Oh my gosh, guys. This is terrible. Starting off on a bad foot. But, that's kind of why you come here, right? Just to get a few laughs, because, I laugh at myself when I screw up, too. It's okay. It happens. So, in our cast, we have Julie Scoline as Maggie. She's a film major trying to write her first screenplay. It's all she can think about. Then we have Tom Villiard, who plays Toby. And he, I guess, is like maybe an assistant professor. Because he's not their professor, but he's like their professor's right-hand man. And it's his idea to get the theater that they're going to run up and going, to have this, triple feature. Which, of course, we'll dive into that later. And so then we have Dee Wallace, if you remember, a few episodes back, a few episodes. She was in another one of our movies. Yeah, she was one of the witches in The Lords of Salem. So she's, of course, much younger in this one. But she plays Suzanne, who is Maggie's mother. Okay, so she's not really Maggie's mother. She's really her aunt. And again, we'll dive into that in a bit. Then we have Derek Rydell, who plays Mark, Maggie's very patient and somewhat understanding, but not fully understanding boyfriend. And then we have Malcolm Daniar, who plays Bud, and he is one of the film students. He is in a wheelchair. He just seems like he's the wisecracking, guy who doesn't let his disability get him down. which, I mean, I like that. It's great. Then we have his friend, Elliot Hurst, who plays Leon. Yvette Solior, who plays Joanna, another film student. Freddie Simpson, who plays Tina, who is another film student, but she's kind of like, you know, the I'm asleep with the teacher to get straight A's kind of girl. We all know someone like that. Then we have Kelly Jo Minter as Cheryl, another film student. And Karen Lore, she plays Joy. And Joy is the girl that Mark shows up to the film festival with. But then, like, promptly ditches her. Because for some reason he didn't put the, like, things together that Maggie would be working the film, like, department's feature, like, y'all, there are many times during this movie that I'm like, Mark's an idiot. And that was one of them. Like, he's shocked to see Maggie there. Oh, whatever. Okay, I digress. We'll get back to the cast. We only have a few left. So we have Roy Wilston. I probably pronounced that wrong, and I'm so horribly sorry if I did. But he plays Dr. M, and Dr. M is the one who is like the caretaker of the theater, and he's the one that gives them all of the effects that they're going to be doing for the movie. And we'll get into that a little bit more here after the cast and talk about that. My friends who are big fans of, you know, horror movies from the 50s, you'll enjoy this little throwback. Then we have Tony Roberts as Mr. Davis, the film, you know, department's main professor. I guess director is what they call it in college. I don't know. Guys, I didn't go to college, so I don't know. And then we have Matt Falls. He doesn't play a big role necessarily. I mean, a lot of the stuff that he did is like just the same, like, you know, what am I trying to say? It's the same scenes just played, you know, throughout the movie. Anyways, so he is Lanyard Gates, like indie filmmaker who kind of had this like weird like cult following, like literally like a cult. Like he ran like a film cult. I know, kind of crazy, right? So he made a movie and it got laughed at, so he wanted to do this other one called The Possessor. Yeah, again, we'll get in more to that. Cindy Breckenshire plays Gloria Gates, who is Lanyard Gates' wife. Again, she is not really like a big... Okay, listen, the Gates are a big part of the story, but they're not shown in the movie a lot. Okay? And then we have Gina Henley, who plays Sarah Gates. And so Sarah Gates is actually Maggie. Okay? Again, we'll get into all that. But Maggie was Sarah, and Sarah's Maggie, and we'll talk more. So, this was the first feature film for a production company called Movie Partners. Before then, they had done some like, you know, real indie scene stuff. But this was like their first like big feature film. And actually they changed directors like 3 weeks into production. So like the director just kind of like just picked up and like ran with it. And everything was filmed in Jamaica. And you'll like, if you watch it, you'll see there's a big like reggae music like thing happening in this movie, which I mean, I guess, you know, is just kind of par for the course, but like nowhere really in the movie isn't told that we're supposed to be in Jamaica. I mean, it just, you know, you just automatically assume that, like, you know, you're in the US. But then, like, you hear a lot of reggae, and it was just kind of weird. Maybe, you know, I mean, the theater that they filmed in, Dreamland Theater, is absolutely, like, gorgeous on the outside and the in. So, I mean, it might just be that, you know, they really liked the location and was like, well, you know, we're here, so let's just film everything here. Yes. I mean, popcorn literally has no nutritional value, and yet, you know, it's one of my favorite, like, things to snack on. Anywho, so, yeah. Let me take a drink too. This is probably going to make my lipstick rub off. But that is okay. So let's, you know, talk about this movie, right? Okay. So we open up. It seems like a dream sequence, which it is. Maggie's having a dream about this, like, long-haired beard guy with a dagger, like, chasing her. She's running away from him, and because it looks like he's gonna, you know, like, come down and stab her. And we see that, like, when she wakes up, she has a recording device, and she's, you know, recording all of her dreams that she has, because she's been having these dreams, like, recurring for, like, some time now. And she thinks that it would make, like, a really great movie, right? She, like, goes downstairs and she says, you know, hi, Mom, and, like, she's talking about it, and, like, her mom seems, like, real kind of nervous. But when Maggie, like, leaves, then Suzanne gets, like, a call, and there's, like, no one there, right? And she's just like, this is weird, and, like, I guess it's been happening kind of frequently, but she's like, oh, this is odd. So Maggie goes to school, and Mark's, like, you know, trying to get her to, you know, ditch class, or, you know, do something with him, just, like, go hang out. And she's like, oh no, I'm, you know, focusing on my, like, on my screenplay, you know, this means everything to me. And he's like, you know, I hope that when you have time to get distracted that I'm still here, like, giving her, like, some kind of weird, like, ultimatum, it seems like. So cut to being in film class, and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, like, our editing space is getting, like, moved again. And they're all like, why are we getting shafted? Why is it the film, like, department that's always getting, like, you know, crapped on? You know, and the teacher's like, well, new departments always take time to, like, you know, have to prove themselves. And that's where Toby has come up with the genius plan to have a horror, like, festival with 3 movies. The first one being Mosquito, right? Mosquito. And that one had 3D vision, right? Because, you know, back in the 50s, they, like, all of the horror movies, well, not all of them, but, like, a lot of them had, like, some kind of gimmick. 3D, smell-o-vision, you know, all of those fun things that we don't get nowadays because, I don't know. Because someone would rather, like, you know, make a 3 to 4 hour long movie than to, like, put some little fun interactive elements into it. It sucks. Anywho, and then so the other movie is, oh man, Attack of the, like, Electrocuted Man or something of that nature. I don't remember the exact title that they were, you know, showing. But that one, the seats would be, you know, rigged to do a little whoop, do a little shock, do a little whoop on your booty, little zap. Which, I mean, that'd be fun. Like, you'd just see sitting there, not realizing it, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, you get a little shock to your butt. Am I the only one that thinks that would be fun? Malone. Okay, anyways. And then the last one, I really don't remember the name of this one, and I'm so sorry, guys, but like, you know, sometimes I don't write down notes of everything and then it escapes me. But this one had smell-o-vision, where they would, you know, put little pellets into, like, you know, water and evaporate them and send it out into the crowd, you know, like dead body, smelly dog, farts, you know, just all of those grotesque smells that you really don't want all up in your nose. So, like, the students are really excited about this. They're like, heck yeah, like, let's do it. So they go down to Dreamland and they meet, you know, Dr. M. He like shows them what he's got. They start rigging things up, right? And everything's coming together. We've got, you know, one of those great montages to reggae music, you know, that seems really fun. So the night of the, oh no, I'm sorry, I digress. So Maggie goes home after, you know, working long at the theater, and you know, she starts like telling her mom that they like found, like, whoa, gosh, while like working, they found like a little reel of the possessor. Wonder how that got there. So, like, they're like, Dr. M didn't mention anything about there being a film in this stuff, so of course they're curious and they pop it in. Well, Maggie starts realizing that she's been dreaming about this, and she faints. So the next thing we see is her there, like, coming to, and she's like, what was that? You know, and then so Mr. Davis is like, you know, telling her, you know, it was this film director, Lanyard Gates, you know, he did this film that like got him completely laughed at. And he was running this like film cult. It was like weird like movies like of just like the members like picking their noses and the cameras, you know, odd things like that from the 60s. Most of them were probably on drugs. He's like, I followed him for a while and then like, you know, things got like really weird. So he wanted to make this movie called The Possessor. And it was kind of like his retaliation, like about being laughed at. And he had filmed all of the movie except for the ending. The ending he was going to perform live on stage, where he was going to kill his wife and daughter, and things didn't quite go as planned. He ended up burning down the theater, and, you know, I mean, they thought killing his entire family, right? But they never found Lanyard's body. So now Maggie is like, oh, well, okay. Oh, this is weird. So she goes home. She sits down with Suzanne and she tells her, like, you know, what's going on. And you can see that Suzanne is really worried. Like, she's very, very worried. And she's like, we can just get away. Like, I can get some tickets from the agency and we can just go. And, you know, Maggie's like, no, I'm not running away from this. Like, you know, she's like, I'm focusing on, you know, my film and, you know, whatever. She's like, I'm just going to go to bed. So she goes to bed. And then Suzanne gets another call. And it's from someone who kind of sounds like Lanyard, I guess. But, I mean, we don't really know what, like, you know. Anyways, sounds like him. And he's like, you know, come down to the theater and make sure you bring that pesky gun with you again situation. So Susan grabs her gun, goes down to the theater, and somehow, I don't know how this happened. I mean, if he's dead, he's supernatural too, but I don't know how it happened. The letters on the marquees just start like flinging off at her and like hitting her. And then like a ticket pops up. And so she takes the ticket and the door automatically opens and she goes inside and she's like starting to see like, you know, little like, you know, shadows and lanyards talking to her. So she goes into the theater and like it starts playing Possessor. And instead of like one part like, you know, saying like, you know, something about I am the possessed and some other things, like it's like literally talking to Susan. So that freaks her out, and then like everything goes dark and she can't see anything, and so she ends up like going around the back of the projection screen and she gets attacked. That's all. That's all we know. It's dark, you can't see. Someone attacks her, she's gone. So Maggie wakes up the day of the festival and she just sees like half jug of coffee and a note from her mom that says like, tonight's the big night, la mom. And Maggie like looks at it like that's kind of a weird note, but then just leaves to get ready for, you know, the festival. And so she's running the ticket booth, and like first off, you know, she sees Mark and she's like, you know, she's irritated with the fact that like he's there with another woman. But then like this weird long-haired, you know, oddball comes up and says something and calls her Sarah. And she goes out of the ticket booth, gets Tina to cover for her. She's like trying to find this person because she swears that it's Lanyard. And then she makes her way up into the projection room and she's like, oh my God, like he's here. I know he's here, you know, and Toby is like, well, let's call the police. And she's like, no, this is gonna, like, it would be a great movie. Like, so I guess she just wants to like talk to him about like, hey, let's do this movie together, I guess. Even though like Mr. Davis had literally just said that he, you know, killed his whole family. Anyways, so Toby goes out like trying to find this person. Crazy. And so while this is happening, like, you know, Maggie's up in the booth and Mark's like tells Joy like he's gonna go get some popcorn or whatever. And he actually goes up to the projection booth and freaks Maggie out, and like Maggie immediately just like turns and like slugs him. So that was hilarious. And she's like trying to tell him like what's up, and he just is like, do you realize that this sounds absolutely insane? And she's like, you know, basically like, no. She thinks it sounds like perfectly fine. And anyways, so she goes like back to the ticket booth to do her thing. Once Toby gets back and is like, dude, I just got attacked by a Doberman. There was like a barbed wire fence. Like I got locked out of the theater and I had to go through all this crap just to get back in. Like it's ridiculous. Thank you for like sending me on a wild goose chase, you idiot. So Maggie leaves and Mark goes back to try to sit by Joy, but this big old behemoth of a dude like has sat down beside her and is basically like, mine. You know, and he's like, dude, I told you to move. And the dude stands up and he's like, you know, back off, asshole, pretty much. And then punches Mark in the face. So in the span of, 5 minutes of the movie, at least, if it may be a little more, Marcus got punched twice in the face. He's not having much luck in this movie. Like, his girlfriend keeps turning him down for, like, you know, advances on makeout sessions. And he's getting punched in the face. Poor guy. Idiot. Anyways, so during Mosquito, Which, like, Mosquito looks like it would have been a fun movie anyways. Like, I know it's just like, you know, like bits and pieces here and there of this thing, but like, it looks funny and it looks great. It looks like something that I would watch, like, just for the fun of it. But the, like, the 3D part of it, right? Like, that part of it came when Mr. Davis lets go the big flying mosquito over the crowd. Well, but what Mr. Davis doesn't know is somebody else, we don't know who because we always see his hands in a remote control, but someone above him is taking control of the mosquito and turns it around and rams it right into Mr. Davis's chest. So we have our first, like, confirmed kill. I would say, like, it's been 45 minutes, maybe a little more into this, you know, hour and a half long movie, before we even get, like, our first, like, confirmed kill. Now, Suzanne disappeared, but we don't know for sure that she died. You know, we just see that she disappeared. Mr. Davis, we know he died. And now someone is, like, whoever did that, like, it drags Mr. Davis's body off somewhere and makes a mold of his face. So this is getting really weird, huh? It's getting really odd. Yeah. So then, like, you know, Tina's looking for Mr. Davis. She finds him. It's really dark. He sounds kind of weird. It sounds like he's got, like, a frog in his throat. And she's like, hey, you know, like, let's fool around, pretty much, basically, right? And for some reason, she's, like, wrapped one of, like, the, you know, the ropes that pull up the curtains and things of that nature, wrapped one of those around his neck as, like, a, you know, like, hey, ooh, pull closer type situation. So she starts making out with him, but then we see that it's not, you know, it's not him. We saw that he died. So we see that it's whoever put his face on him. So the prosthetic was still kind of, like, you know, goopy because he's having to do this in fast pace. I mean, come on now. He's got one night to get this done. So he don't have time to, like, let it sit for very long, you know. So it, like, she's, like, pulling away and you can see, like, oh gosh, you can see the prosthetic just, like, sticking to her face and, but, like, pulling away from it. And it is something, it is interesting to see. Well, but then, you know, whoever's behind the Mr. Davis mask strangles her with the rope. But then, like, Maggie and Mike are looking for Tina and Mr. Dave, or they're looking for Mr. Davis to kind of, like, be like, hey, like, there's this weird man that's, like, running around, right? So, yeah. Whoever, like, you know, just killed her is just doing, like, the, oh yeah, making her a puppet and talking and, you know, he went that way. But, like, the person made a mask of Tina too, which is weird. So the second movie comes around that they're watching, right? The electroshock one. And Bud is, like, up in the balcony area, controlling the machine for the shocks. And it's supposed to be, like, on an automatic, like, thing, but he couldn't get it to work, so he was gonna, like, have to switch every single one, like, automatically. And, like, he complained about it, right? But then he ends up, like, really enjoying it. And so, you know, whoever killed Tina then comes up to Bud. And this is kind of, I don't know, it's not kind of, it's real messed up. Like, they rig his wheelchair to the machine and then whoever it is like hits a button, on a recorder, and it's like, oh, the lights are gonna go off in a sequence, and when the yellow button goes off, like, so will you, pretty much. And so like he's tied down to his chair, he's trying to get to that so bad, and boop, the first light goes off, and a bunch of people in the theater like get shocked. Boop, second light goes off, a bunch of people in the theater get shocked. So it goes like this, and that very last big one, he's almost there to like pull the cable out, and he's just not there in time, and he gets electrocuted all to hell. Like, literally blown out of his seat. Blown out of his seat, electrocuted. Like, it's crazy. So, again, Maggie and Mark, y'all, they come up, they go to see Bud because they think that Mr. Davis like went to see him, and they find him like completely like dead, and like because of the like amount of electricity that it like just happened with Bud getting shocked, like everything goes black, just black, right? So, Maggie runs into Toby, and she's like, oh my god, like, what are we gonna do? Oh, Mark also falls down the stairs. It's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, like, I mean, oh. So, Toby and Maggie go down to the basement because Toby says that that's where, the breaker is. And Cheryl and Joanna and Leon are like, oh my god, there's a bunch of people like out there, they're gonna riot if we don't do like something. So they realize that the band is still in the green room that was playing at the beginning of like at opening doors. So they like get them on stage, and they're playing some reggae music. Well, Toby like slips trying to go down the basement stairs, and then like the basement door like shuts behind, and Maggie can't get it open. And this is where the movie takes a turn. Big turn. Big plot twist, right? So, turns out, like, Toby isn't who he's Toby, I guess, but he's not really who he says he is. So, like, while all the blackout stuff happened, he attacked Maggie and put her in the vice that he was, making other people's faces with, the molds of people's faces. So she can't get out. She's, like, stuck in it. She can't get out, right? And he had made, like, some kind of, like, paper mache mold to hold Susan. And, like, her gun and everything, y'all. Like, she's literally like this, like, gun out. It's so weird. And so Toby starts telling us, like, basically, like, what's up? Turns out that Toby's mom was a big, like, follower of lanyards, and him and his mother were there in the front row the night of the fire. Yeah, so what turns out is Lanyard killed his wife with a dagger. And while his back was turned, Susan shot him and ran off with Sarah. So Maggie is Sarah, Sarah is Maggie. She changed her name to, she changed her name to save, like, face. You know what I'm saying? So, Yeah. But Toby, you know, couldn't get out. Like, all the doors of the theater were locked. So Toby, you know, couldn't get out, but he survived. He was just severely burned. So he was severely burned. And so, in order to not be made fun of, you know, all of his life, he learned how to do prosthetics. And he's just been putting on, you know, a face every day for his whole life, you know. And for some reason, he's like throwing all of this like blame and rage onto, you know, Maggie, even though like she was a child then too. Like, there was, you know, it's not her fault that her father like went batshit crazy. So we learned this, and we learned that Toby wants to recreate Possessor at midnight. And you know, he's gonna kill Sarah. And yeah, so, you know, everyone's like, you know, or Mark's like trying to find Maggie. Oh, the lights come back on. But Mark's trying to find Maggie, and they're like, oh, like, yeah, her and Toby went to go turn the lights back on, and, you know, they should be back any minute, and whatever. And he's like, I'm not so sure about, like, this guy. Like, do you know where he lives? And Joanna's like, blah, 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 like, rattles off his, like, apartment, like, address. Because I guess she's a really big fan of Mr. Toby. I guess. I don't know. Anywho, so, like, while things are going down at the theater, Mark goes to Toby's house and sees that there are a ton of things about Lanyard Gates and Sarah, and just, you know, the landlord's like throwing out his stuff, and then he's like, yeah, that he like screams every night, like the neighbors are like complaining about it. He's got this like trunk that looks like there's like human body parts in it. And so like Mark is starting to put together like, this is not good. So Mark goes back to the theater and is having trouble getting in. He finally like literally climbs up the marquee into a window that he can get into. It's crazy. So while he's there, our third film finally happens, and it's the Stinko Vision or something of that nature, right? It's the smelly one. So Joanna and Leon are supposed to take care of that. Well, Leon is like, hey, I gotta go pee. So while he goes pee, you guessed it, Toby dresses up like him and kills him. And he kills him by like throwing some kind of like tablets into the toilet, and like Leon, like, I don't know, suffocates from whatever it is, because I can't breathe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how exactly that death like transpired. I don't know. It just looked like he choked to death on fumes of some sort, but I don't know what kind of fumes. So Toby, dressed as Leon, goes back to Joanna, fully planning to kill her. But she's like, hey, so I have a question. Like, what do you think about Toby? And he's like, oh, you know, she's like, you know, I think I'm in love with him. And like, this like takes Toby by surprise, of course. And he's just like, you know, I have my own problems. And just like storms off. And Joanna's like, okay, God, sorry I asked, type of situation. And she gets ready for their cue for the, you know, stink bombing the audience. And so Toby goes back down and he's like, don't burden me with your problems. I have problems of my own. He's like, oh, you know, love, like, look, Jesus. You know, he's like ranting. But then he realized, like, oh, I gotta get my shit together, because it's about time for my show. So I don't even think they're like, towards the end of the third movie when like it turns off and Possessor starts happening and the crowd is like, boo, this movie sucks. And Toby has, Sarah and Susan and then like the whole like backdrop, candelabra, skull, the whole shebang of Possessor right there in the back. But he is coming down from the audience and he's like, right, boo, oh, this sucks, and he's doing crazy stuff. And then he hops up onto the stage and the projector, like rises and there's like Sarah and him on stage and he's doing this whole fucking showboating thing and is like, should I kill her or no? And like, like as someone very close to me like pointed out in the movie, like he just went into business for himself, like full on took over the show, like just, it was ridiculous. Showboating son of a bitch, y'all. It was crazy. So like Mark gets into the building, he's in the balcony and Maggie's like, oh, help me. And he like fucking Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, fucking belts over the wiring that held the mosquito and just like zip lines down to the stage. Crashing into boxes as he lands. Y'all, Mark, God bless his soul, y'all, but he dumb and he seems to be like having all kinds of trouble just trying to not be hurt in this movie. Like, it's ridiculous how many times I'm like, aw, he got hurt again. Like, come on, dude, be a man. Something, I don't know. Like, if you're supposed to be this dapper, like, leading man to this, like, girl, like, you gotta get your stuff together. So, Toby's plan is, like, as he's trying to stab our beautiful, leading woman, something starts happening with the mosquito. It starts like breaking loose and it swings down and like impales Toby and he's just kind of like hanging there on it, just kind of it's very strange, guys. It's very weird. But I mean, in the end, everything's good. The police come and take, the killer off in a body bag. There's a bunch of other body bags. Anyways, though, guys, like, for real, though, you need to go see Popcorn. You need to go see it. It's pretty great. You want some? I'll share. Here. Take some. It's really good. Okay. So, enough about that. Are you ready for this again? See? Oh, that one came open a little bit, so we're gonna pick from this side, okay? Let's see, we've got, oh, okay, guys, so you don't know what this stands for, SROD. I shortened some things just to, like, to help myself out on writing because I didn't want to write down like a whole lot of stuff because just my hand cramps. And anyways, so this is Satanic Rites of Dracula. I've heard really good things about this, but I've never like seen it. So it's another horror like movie from Hammer. So get ready for Dracula next week in some fashion. Satanic Rites of Dracula. That didn't go where I wanted it to go. Anyways, it's been fun, guys. Do a little pose. Alright. You guys have a great Saturday night, and I will see you next time. Bye.